What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to do that.
And today we're going to be covering part 1 of 3 videos that we're going to be doing. We're going to show you guys what you guys should be doing to your cars when you first buy a car if the person that had it before doesn't know when the last time it was done. And so today we're going to be covering in this video, we're going to be covering your spark plugs, taking off the valve cover and checking the top of the motor for grime. And then you should also be doing an oil change, and so we'll cover that too in the video.
Yeah, so today should be pretty good. So remember, drive fast, don't be last. So first thing first, the motor. We want to take care of it, make sure she's in good health, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this cross brace off, helps it, gives it a little bit of rigidity in the corners, good stuff. So we're going to remove this guy, and then we're going to remove the valve cover. And the reason we're going to do that is we want to check all the valve clearances. We want to make sure the latch is correct, and we'll show you how to do that. That way you don't have any slop in the valve train, so it doesn't create, premature wear, and just so we know everything's in good health and running properly. So let's get to it. Slips and dives. You guys didn't see that, but I almost slipped off camera. All right, and then one important thing is whenever you're removing nuts, bolts, whatever it is, do one of two things. Either put it back in the hole that it came out of, or put it in a baggie and label it. That way you know exactly where it goes so you don't lose it, because you're going to be hating life if you do.
Focus on is we're going to take out the spark plugs and then take off that valve cover just so that we can inspect those. And so we're going to be also checking the seal for any cracks or anything like that to make sure that it doesn't need replaced, no leaking, anything like that. So we're going to get started.
Awesome, let's do that.
Okay guys, so I'm going to tackle the spark plugs. And so when you're doing spark plugs, know which order they go in. So this one goes 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this one's 4. And this one right here is 1. And then this one right here is 2. And this one right here is 3. So make sure they go back in the right order, or you'll run into some massive issues. And so I'm going to tackle the spark plugs.
And then as he's doing the spark plugs, I'm going to go ahead and probably drop some parts in the engine bay, because that's my thing. And we're going to work on taking off these vacuum lines right here, just so it's out of the way. And then I'm going to work on the brackets and then work on the valve cover itself. So let's get cracking, Jayden. Something that you want to watch for as you have a new car is if you have any old rubber hoses. If they're cracked, you're definitely going to want to replace them. Otherwise, you're going to have vacuum leaks and a hard time running.
I think we're going to have a valve cover gasket.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so Jayden just pointed this out. If you guys look at the spark plug, you can see it's a little bit shiny on the end. A little more shiny than usual, and that's because there's a little bit of oil on it. So with that being said, it's very possible that 1, this person just sucks at putting oil in their car, or 2, that valve cover gasket could be bad, just those little O-rings letting some oil into the spark plug area. So we're going to give that a check once we get the valve cover off. On a low performance car like this, okay, bad rubber hose. All right, so we're going to have to get one of those.
I have some fuel line left over.
All right, sounds good. But anyway, back to what we were saying. With a lower performance car like this, it's not as huge of an issue if you don't replace your spark plugs as often. But with the plans and everything we have for it, it's going to be a good idea just so we don't have any misfires. All right. Yeah, serious. So next up, guys, I'm going to work on taking off this bracket that's holding on the coil and a couple of other things. See where we can go with it. Take the rest of these bolts holding the valve cover out, but just a heads up, on the back of this bracket, there's going to be 2 12mm bolts, and then that's going to remove it from the valve cover. And then you're going to want to disconnect this one connector over here that goes to your cam timing. So let's go ahead and get these guys off. Let's off this guy. Oh, there it goes. So it should go back a bit. It's actually pretty clean. I'm pretty impressed. So yeah, it's not too bad considering. Yeah, I see a little bit of grime in the head, but I don't see any big, like, very much sludge. The oil's definitely a little dirty, but yeah, all the corners look good. All the areas where you usually see a bunch of sludge build up and that stuff.
So it was leaking.
Yep, yeah, it was a little bit there. Yeah.
Gonna warp the gasket.
Yeah, it probably just needs to be replaced because you can feel. And a good way to tell if you need to replace a gasket is if it's like a pure rubber gasket, just feel it. If it feels like it's stiff and brittle, just replace it. It's not worth trying to reuse it because you're gonna have problems 5,000 miles down the road. So, not that that matters for this car for various reasons, but
Call your local O'Reilly's.
yeah.
So me and Wyatt had to go get a gasket for the Miata, as you've seen. The other one was super worn. So yeah, and now we're having fun.
Yeah.
Oh, too much. All right, guys. So we are back after drifting and messing around.
What?
So
No, you'd never do that.
now we're going to pull this gasket off and get rid of this old crusty tuna crust gasket.
Yeah, it's like super stiff and nasty, and yeah,
Just breaks right off.
yeah, it just rips apart, no issue, and it should not do that. Before you put the fresh gasket on, just make sure wipe out all the old oil, all the old nastiness. That way it doesn't have any grime or dirt or just a little bit of that old oil getting in the way of a good seal. Same thing with the head. Go ahead, wipe everything down, all your seal surfaces, and then usually around these little corners back here, there'll be a little bit of gasket maker, some silicone. So just make sure to wipe it off and then make sure to apply a little bit more. Like it doesn't have to be a lot, just a little dab. That way when you press this on and you bolt it down, it takes up all the gaps on the corners so you don't have any leaks. So anyway, with that being said, we are now good to go ahead and reinstall the valve cover because we checked sort of the clearances, and where these are hydraulic lifters and everything, you don't really have to check the gap because they should pump up, and they should just make it a perfect seal. But with that being said, they're a little bit dirty, so there's a little bit of valve clatter. So when we change oils, we'll see if it helps clear it up, and that'll be in an upcoming video. That'll be part 2. So let's go ahead and get this guy thrown on. Way out, so we'll just start here. Boom, 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 boom.
I
Then
want you
boom,
in my
boom,
room.
boom, 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 boom. And we'll go from there. That way it pushes the valve cover gasket flat and it doesn't create any wrinkles or anywhere that it could possibly have a leak. So let's go ahead and get started. Guys, so everything's loosely tightened, so we're gonna go ahead, look up the torque spec on this and go from there.
All right, guys, so I want to show you guys the comparison between the two. As you can see, this one is super dirty. And so you have to still make sure that you gap these, but the gap at 0.04 is where they're supposed to be. So I always recommend NGK. They're just a all-around better plug, but as you guys can see, the comparison of the two, like, it's pretty gross. So I'm glad that we changed out that plug.
Our final pass on the valve cover gasket, and like I said, that's going to be right around like 6.5 foot-pounds. I wasn't sure, so I looked it up, double checked it. It's like 73 inch-pounds, so do a conversion on that. Throw it in your torque wrench if it's only in foot-pounds. So next up, we're going to be doing the spark plugs. We're going to be getting those torqued to spec, and those will be between 11 to 17. So we're going to go in the middle, and we're going to go with 15 foot-pounds. This is as far as the top end of the motor. This is pretty much all you're going to do except the air filter, and we're going to check that out next. So once Jayden finishes up, we will move on to the next thing. So those are good. Let's go ahead and throw these plug wires back in. And Miatas are pretty easy to remember where they go, like a lot of a lot of 4-cylinders are. And newer motors in general, just because most of the spark plug wires are lengthed accordingly, as long as you don't take them off the coil pack. So we have two 12mm bolts that we have to put on the back of here, and then we're gonna move on to the air filter.
It's gonna be the air box. It's right here. And so I believe that those bolts there are 10mm. So we're gonna get those off and then we'll be right back.
Okay. All right, guys, so I have the air filter out, and I'll bring it up to you so you can see a little bit. You can see, you know, some cotton because it's Idaho, and it's a little bit dirty. There's definitely cleaner air filters out there. You can still see light through it, but you can see a ton of particulate inside. All right, so tomorrow when we get our spark plug wires, or within the next day or two, we will also pick one of these guys up. That way it's, you know, has a little bit more to breathe. So, yeah.
Okay, guys, so the other part that you want to make sure you do is checking the oil. Make sure that it's not dirty or anything like that. So we're going to end up changing the oil in a later video because we're going to be doing an oil comparison between the Royal Purple and what oil was in this again?
Castrol GTX.
Castrol GTX. And so this already ran for 3,000 miles. And on the comparison video, we'll show you kind of what it looked like before. And then we'll do an after video with Royal Purple to show you guys the comparison and how great Royal Purple is. So, and then we'll do a review on there as well. And so that's why we're not going to be changing the oil in this. Okay, guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe. And do you have anything to say, Wyatt?
Yeah, like he said, hope you guys enjoy the content. If you'd like to see more like it, follow his instructions. Go ahead, give us a like as a follow. And yeah, if you have anything you want to add to the video, go ahead, drop a comment, give an opinion. And if you have any ideas on how we can improve our content, definitely let us know. So don't forget, drive fast and don't be last.
And stay tuned for part 2.